All right, good evening. Call the Wolfeboro Select Board meeting to order. This is a budget review meeting, Wednesday, October 29, 2025, 6 p.m. Thank you. Tonight, we're going to, first thing we're going to deal with is two agencies, Northern Human Services. They online, Jim, yet? And Meals on Wheels.
Is there anybody online from Northern Human Services?
Hold on for it.
As of this moment, Dave,
Okay.
no.
All right, Meals on Wheels. You want to come up to the front, or right there is fine.
Good evening. So I represent, my name is Kurt Rosso, the board president of Wolfeboro Area Meals on Wheels.
Excuse me, could you just state your name for the record, please?
Kurt, K-U-R-T, Rossler, R-O-E-S-S-L-E-R.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm here representing Wolfeboro Area Meals on Wheels. We're requesting the level funding of $7,500. Put this.
Any statistics or anything you want to give us at this time?
So last year we served 14,800 meals over the period of the year, and just under 74% of our meals that we serve 5 days a week are here in Wolfeboro, 18% in Tuftonboro, and 7.5% in Brookfield.
Anybody have any questions?
No, I'm fine.
Brian?
Yeah, do Tuftonboro and Brookfield contribute also?
They do. Tuftonboro contributes $2,500 in 2024 and 2025, and Brookfield contributed $750 in 24 and 25.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Everybody set for now? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, should we move on to the
So
executive?
I do believe that there is a representative online, but I'm not sure if she's able to activate her microphone. Ms. Jones, can you speak? It appears your microphone is activated, but you are not coming through.
Thank you.
Should we move on to the executive budget then?
Give me just 1 second, Dave. Let me try one thing. It appears she has left, so maybe she will try to log back in. Okay, so before we get into that, Dave, I just want to let you guys know as we dive into this tonight, in front of you, you have your packet that has all the revisit and items in a PowerPoint form, and we'll go through that page by page. The front cover that you have is where you are to date. So right now, the general fund budget is $21,441,504, but that is without general fund capital outlay, which includes $165,500 in capital outlay items, which I'm sure you'll be discussing this evening. 2 police cruisers, which brings the budget up to $21,743,750, or an increase of $2,679,483, or 14.4% on the general fund. Mind you, that 2025 budget number is prior to, that is based on the 2024 and default numbers. So while this is a pretty significant escalation, it's also taken 2 years of default budget into consideration, raises, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I do have a default budget slide for you for 2026. Moving on to the water fund right now, the water fund, $1,791,452, an increase of $168,707 or 10.4%. Electric fund, $10,977,262, an increase of $225 or 2.1%. Then when you add in the 2 capital outlays that the electric department had, that brings you to $11,147,000 for a total increase of $395,382 or 3.68%. Sewer fund, budget of $1,947,179, increase of $149,263 or 8.3%. And then Pop Whalen, $497,967, increase of $84,712 or 20.5%. So your overall budget with all funds in is $35,336,158. Overall increase of $3,308,840 or 10.33%. Now, obviously, there's some more moving pieces that's taking place at this time. This does not include the $50,000 backed out for, I believe it was the.
If you're talking the executive, it was cable TV.
Thank you. It doesn't include some of those items. So after tonight's discussion, this will be sharpened and you will have very clear numbers as to where you're at. I do think that it is prudent that next week you as the board, after this evening's conversation, schedule one last meeting to go through the budget, look at the numbers, and decide if you want to move this thing forward or not. I would say that Wednesday evening at the select board meeting is really our drop dead date for being able to get the budgets rolled, the budgets printed, and the budgets ready for the budget committee. So that summarizes that whole budget into one screenshot that hopefully clears some things up. So your executive budget that you did not have, which I believe you received, and you also have it in the packet in front of you that was handed to you this evening. Executive budget, proposed budget, $296,440, an increase of $63,784 or 27.4% over 2025. Again, this budget as it sits right now reflects no action that you took on the items before, just so you're aware. So with that said, I assume you want to go through this series by series, so I'll walk you through it. 100 series. $200 series. $300 series.
And Jim, I think you're still carrying the 155 for cable TV.
Yeah, I was just raising my hand. Didn't we make a motion at the last meeting? Are you want a new motion now?
No, I do not want a new motion. This does not reflect those changes being made in this at this time.
Okay.
But we have those changes made.
Okay, thank you.
400 series. $500 series.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
562, not interested in adjusting it, just interested in a thought. We heard from the community TV how much viewership they have or how many views they get, which is quite impressive. And I'm wondering if we, during the year, we can hopefully get that number of $8,000 down, but also get the views of proposed meeting notices maybe moved over in some fashion, large or small, to Wolfeboro Community Television.
I would say that would be kind of hard. This is the legal noticing that has to go in the paper every time the Board of Selectmen holds a public hearing relative to changing ordinances, changing fees, accepting of grants.
So it has to go into a hard newspaper, like a physical?
It has to be in a circulation of local, newspaper of local circulation and online or posted in-house, but it still legally has to be a newspaper of local circulation.
Yeah, that's state RSA.
Can it be additionally added to the Wolfeboro Community TV?
Well, I
For
guess his answer-
Wolfeboro Community TV to pay for our legal notices for changing,
Just a supplemental, just informational.
can we add the notices to Wolfeboro Community TV? Sure, we can probably do that.
Because I guess that would fall under the descriptor of online, because you have to go online to look at it. But anyway, I'm not trying to move the budget. If someone in their infinite wisdom says it has to be a physical newspaper, okay.
I will provide you the
I'd also like to
RSA.
explore other methods and methodologies.
I will provide you the RSA.
I don't need it.
I guess my only concern here, what we're saying, well, we'll put it on community TV, I don't have any problem. But I don't know if they'll charge. Remember, they've gone to a system of having to charge in order to make.
Sure.
So we might have to add something, but we should find that out.
Should find out.
Well, considering it gets a lot of hits, so people would be into seeing it, even if it was just on the blank page and coming up.
I don't have it, but I know that they are going to a different model.
Yep.
And that if we have to add money to do it, I think it's a great idea, but I think we need to remember they're now trying to become self-supporting as much as they can.
Understood, thank you.
600 series. $800 series.
872, am I correct that you have changed the 2026 to 21,900?
Correct. It has not been reflected in this yet because it's still your budget. It will be rolled as it goes into the Budget Committee's budget.
Thank you.
So Linda, the gross number is 21,900?
No, for Wolfboro Water is 21,900.
Okay. Got it. Are we still on 800, Jim?
Yep.
And maybe this is for the Energy Committee, maybe Mr. Duché. So this is an FYI, electric charging station maintenance is zero because you got a revenue offset, so that's more of like an FYI on the budget. 873.
Yeah, and,
It says right there.
yeah, it's a zero because, and I believe that any maintenance that comes out of the town general fund would come from a accounting that we have that revenues have created profits. So we charge 20 cents a kilowatt hour, which is still very reasonable. A lot of charging stations, the fast ones even, are up to about 56 cents a kilowatt. So we're taking that 30% and it goes into the general fund and it's being accounted for so that if there is a repair needed or if we can accumulate enough extra money, we can install more chargers, and again, it will be at no cost to the citizens.
So, Brian, where it says there is offsetting revenue of 800, you think that's there, and it will.
Yeah, that's an estimate, and we're going to be very, very close. Sam and I are watching it. Last year, there was an offsetting profit of $800, and this year, based on charging status, and I've watched it on a monthly basis, we should be right about the same amount.
Right, and so right now, we have 800 if something goes wrong.
Oh, no, we have more than that. That's 800.
Well, I'm just reading what is here on the sheet. That's why I'm
So that
trying to get
800 would be
clarity.
for 2025. There's also additional monies in there from 2024, correct? Do we have an accounting of that?
As it's set up now, it is not a revolving fund,
Correct.
so it is just year to year. How it is set up now, I don't know.
So what Casey did was she put it into an accounting. It goes into the general fund, but she was keeping track of it, how much we have. I can go on my phone right now and I can tell you exactly how much profit the town has gotten from those EV chargers. And Casey assured me that that would be recorded in the general fund as a specific line, so that if money had to be drawn out of the general fund, the board would have to vote on it to do a repair or do something like that, but it wouldn't be from taxation.
I started this, I apologize. I was just, the way I just read this, it read to me like, hey, FYI, we have this charging station maintenance and we have accrued money in the bank account to pay it off. That's all I saw.
Okay, so we have had no maintenance on the chargers since we installed them. There hasn't been a need for maintenance. There was one vandalism of a sign that was paid for by Primex.
Yeah.
And other than that, the stations haven't cost the taxpayers in Wolfeboro anything, and in the next 5 minutes, I'll tell you exactly how much revenue we've brought in for
Say
projects.
there's a line in the donation account as well for EV charging station.
Yeah.
There's that line as well.
But I do remember, now that the topic came up, I do remember there was a conversation about creating a revolving account, and I think your predecessor said not going to do that.
It's too small.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was
too small. Nickels and dimes don't matter.
rattling the
That's what I was
couch
told.
cushions. But what Brian is saying is, hey, listen, I'm generating enough marginal income that if I need to do maintenance, and we can cover for it. That's good. And it doesn't hit the general taxpayer. That's good. FYI. Yep. Okay.
Anything else on the executive budget? Okay, moving along to the Economic Development Committee. Economic Development Committee budget, $13,790, a decrease of $2,450 or 15.1%. Brian, I think, will be the one who will be able to speak to this evening if you have questions. 100 series. $200 series. $300 series.
Yeah, I want to make a comment about 381, that it is the fireworks for last night, Wolfeboro. Not in 2024 or 2025 did we spend any town money. The only reason that 2,500 is there is it was in the 2023 budget.
Correct, it's a carryover from default.
Yep. I just want
Yep.
the public to know we have for the last number of years.
And then, if, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Paul.
And just on the 380 line, how does the community calendar work? Just maybe a short treatise or explanation for the public. How does it work?
Brian, can you speak to that?
The community calendar is operated under the Chamber of Commerce. And any department in the town of Wolfeboro and any business can put their events listed on the community calendar. They don't have to be a member of the chamber. So I believe that at some time we need to look at that community calendar and see if it should be moved into the executive government. Because it really only, it got put in there years ago, and it's kind of a pass-through for the EDC. It's money that goes in, they don't touch it, they don't have any control over it, and it goes right to the chamber for the community calendar, and I think it should be under the executive.
I agree with Brian that it got moved over, and when the EDC was talking about this budget, here's 6,000, and they have no control, nothing to do with it. And so they felt that it should go back, and I agree with Brian.
And where would it go back to, Brian? You know?
To executive.
Why wouldn't it be just an agency request?
Because it's producing something for us.
What
In
agency?
terms of,
Put it out as in the agencies,
What agency are they?
the Chamber of Commerce.
That's an agency?
Yeah.
it provides a physical pamphlet to the community of Wolfeboro, to the public, on our behalf.
So
Different
back to
than-
Brian's comment, it's managed by the Chamber. It's inside the economic development budget. It's been there for a couple of budget cycles. Any non-member, any person in the public can petition to have that done, can have their stuff put in there. So are we missing an opportunity here? Because I just went back and counted, and we had some 89 special event permits. And those don't automatically go on. So are we missing a step from what you see, Brian, that what we should do is we should take those special event permits and then call the chamber and say, put these on the community event calendar? Are we missing a step?
I don't know if that's our responsibility.
I think they do put them on.
They
My
do.
only
Back and
question,
looked, I couldn't find.
did you get one of those fold-out?
No, I just went online.
It's a fold-out pamphlet that's printed and down and it's in a rack at the chamber. And I think if you want to get better understanding, we should talk to Mary.
Maybe I should get a copy of it. Can I just get a copy of that? Because here's how I did it. I'm not trying to be argumentative. I just went online and just went community event calendar, and I couldn't find many of our community activities. And I don't know, I could go one for one, but I couldn't find them. Now, if they're hard copied, that's good. Which then gets me to another question. I think, Brian, you're going to say I can't answer it, is do we pay the vendor or do we pay the chamber?
The chamber produces it.
Yes.
So they don't use a vendor.
No.
So we pay them in one tranche,
Correct.
believe that's correct.
$6,000. They actually produce it. Okay.
So I think there was another question about events at the POP also. If they were not on the chamber calendar, and they'd like to be on there too for yard sales and events also.
Okay, good. Okay. And there was we're at another line, never mind, keep going.
$500 series?
There was a mention on 562, there was a mention we've encumbered some advertising, and I don't, have we encumbered advertising for this year? Because my look back said we spent $842 in 2025.
I think I actually signed a purchase order this week
This week.
for something relative to that, yes.
And then next.
It was a bulletin board, I believe, or something like that.
I think on that line, I think it's again here is where the EDC, and Brian, you can help me with this, is moving away from just advertising in magazines, and they are going to do some, I think, more taping,
Yeah.
More what, Linda?
using videos and doing through different mediums.
Yeah. Yankee Magazine was a big advertising medium for them. They could get a hit count at one time of how many people went onto the Yankee Magazine and looked at Wolfeboro. Yankee Magazine has done away with that, so we're looking at other digital means of advertising, and that money will be encumbered by the end of the year. We're looking at other digital ways to advertise Wolfeboro to help the economic development of the downtown area, especially in the off-seasons. We do this business recap where we have an event with roundtables for all the businesses in downtown, or any business in town. We put it out to everybody through Constant Contact. That's another service we use for advertising. And we have people come and give us their input on what the business community of Wolfeboro looks like, what the business community needs, what their wants and what their gripes are, which is, we get a lot of feedback, and then we go back to these groups with as much information on their questions as we can. We do a retention survey, and again, during the season, to find out from businesses what's working for them and what's not working for them. And they help support last night, and they help support the Lake Winnipesaukee Day.
By staffing, we get donations, but they help with the staffing and some of the organization of it.
Yes.
On the business retention survey, which, so you're saying you're doing that almost as we speak? Or did I misunderstand?
That's already happened for this year.
It has?
No, I don't think so. I think that is one we're going to do next year.
Okay.
Yeah.
They built off of probably about 10 years of business retention survey and document that came out of UNH. That UNH doesn't do that anymore, and we thought we would do it in-house, and I think that's the money to do it in-house.
Again, I'm not pushing back as to the value or no value of doing a business retention survey. I was just cruising around on the website, and I think, Lydia, you're right. I mean, I remember when I first showed up in this town, we had UNH, and it was like 15 years ago.
We did
and
not.
That's featured on the Wolfeboro EDC website now. So if we have new data, it'd be great to see it. But you're saying we're going to do it next year?
We're going to do it next year.
Okay,
At that point, the one we did, I think it's about 10 years ago, we talked to about 93 businesses.
it was a lot.
So we got a good sense of what was working, and then we decided, and one of the things they wanted was more events. That's why there's last night Wolfeboro, and that's why there's Lake Winnipesaukee Day.
Yeah. Yeah, the business retention and expansion survey was done back in 2014.
So about 10 years ago.
10 years.
Yeah,
And then
that
the
was
next one is
pretty
business outreach, just because it's a bigger number. What is that, Brian or whomever? What is business outreach?
So, we do spend money on advertising with different paper media and with Constant Contact, and that costs money in order to get the businesses involved in community activities, community events, get them to come to our recap event, get them to participate in Lake Winnipesaukee Day and in last night and whatnot.
So we're promoting Wolfeboro. And oh, by the way, when you get here, there's these incredibly great places to visit. But yours is more the umbrella reach over this whole thing. And then underneath that, people can insert their own little... Okay, thank you.
So for the EV chargers, I pulled up some information. We've had, since they opened, we've had 2,008 charges since they opened about a little over 2 years ago. 35,267 kilowatts used for a total revenue of $7,163.62. Of that, 30% is profit, which is $2,148. So for anybody who's out there we've had zero maintenance on them, and the EV chargers have put a profit into the general fund of $2,148. So therefore, I would hope if we needed a $400 or $500 repair down the road, that the board would support that, knowing that we've added profits to the general fund.
.600 series. .800 series. Any other questions about the EDC?
So the, just for information, again, for people, the EDC's budget is down $2,450 for this year, or down 15.1% compared to the 2025 default budget. So it's 15.1% less.
And just an ask, can we get a copy of the pamphlet?
Sure, we'll go down to the chamber and get one.
Thank you.
Other years, it used to be part of the budget book that we would see it.
Was it?
Yep.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I believe your next item is public input about the budget presentation to this point before you get into your revisits.
Is there anybody who wants to ask some questions in reference to the budget this time? There will be other chances because we will pass it on to the budget committees.
Anybody out there in cloud?
One person. Any questions, Bobby?
I'll use my voice on the budget committee.
I didn't hear what that.
Okay.
Thank you. I think I'll use my voice on the budget committee.
Not allowed.
Okay. Thank you. So that means we will move into the revisit portion of the evening. First revisit that you will have in front of you is the community center. Community center budget for 2026 proposed $10,635 for an increase of $3,161 or 42.3% over 2025. And I believe that this was one of the items that the board wanted to revisit, knowing that there's some activities happening at the community center and exactly what you'd like to do. So I have the full budget for you there. Do you want to go through it series line by line, or is there something else that you would like to do with this budget?
I'll kick it off. I wouldn't touch it, leave it alone. We have no
not at this
idea what the
point.
future brings.
That's where I am. I think we weren't sure where we
And
were
we're not
going.
talking, and we're not talking about, you know, the federal debt here. We're talking $10,000. I'd leave it alone.
So we're going to leave the budget alone. Okay.
You guys okay with that? Mm-hmm. You okay with that?
Yeah, it's just like the EDCs, flat level, no problems.
Okay, very good.
Somehow.
We'll move on to some of the Parks and Rec follow-up. Christine is here this evening. I think she'll be able to speak to some of these items. So one of the follow-up items was Cape Park fertilizer. Christine, can you speak to that?
I reached out to our person that fertilizes. He uses a zero phosphorus, slow release fertilizer. The law is you need to stay 25 feet away from the lake. The only place that is a concern is the lower part of Cape Park, so he stays back 25 feet from there.
Any questions?
Nope, that answered it.
Thank you.
Your next one was follow-up to the American Legion, and I think she's got something to hand out.
Thanks, Christine.
Thank you.
I do have a representative from the American Legion here if you have any questions that I can't answer.
Oh, I got it, yeah.
So this accounts for everything that's in their budget.
Correct, this is what they requested for this year.
So this is our backup?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I have no objection.
I don't either. That was what we wanted.
Thank you for the clarity.
Okay, moving along to
You guys okay? Is you okay? Okay, Jack.
Clark House Water and Sewer. There was a calculation error here that took place. It didn't auto-calculate across correctly, and if you look at it, one of them is for 6 months, one of them is for 12 months. That obviously isn't going to work.
It does work, actually. So I reached out to the water department. We shut the water off, but you do have to have sewer for 12 months, is what I was told. That's typical. So I calculated 6 months of water use and then the 12 months of the sewer use.
I stand corrected.
Sorry. I know, I questioned it, but that's what they said when I called them.
Be kind of interesting. How
Yeah,
do you shut off the sewer?
but if you put nothing in it, and I thought you paid, I'm
You
like,
stiing to pay the minimum charge
you're
for
doing
it.
the basic charge to keep it going.
So it's a minimum charge even though nothing's flowing through the system.
Bad visual.
And you don't have to pay the basic charge for water then?
Correct, because we're shutting it down for the
Okay.
rest of the time.
Okay.
So the idea is that you could dump something down the sewer, and unless you go out and block the line off, you will be charged.
Yeah,
Sure.
they could put something down the
We
drain.
can
Water
have
could
all
go down
kinds
the
of
drain.
conversations about this. I appreciate your explanation.
It's unit cost is what the sewer is.
Thank you, Christine.
So disregard the motions at the bottom of the page.
Okay, we can do that.
And four, thank you.
Okay, your next budget was the Libby Museum. You wanted to revisit the Libby Museum in its entirety. So the 2026 proposed budget for the Libby Museum is $39,010, a decrease of $8,851 or 18.5%.
A question would be, and we don't know this yet, is the board going to authorize moving fragile materials into storage from the Libby? And if we do, are we going to need a curator, and do we have a curator there that will be able to assist? A curator, does our curator have the knowledge to know which are the most fragile artifacts that need to be stored if the museum is going to be closed for the next couple of years?
So if the majority of the artifacts, if this board acting as trustees makes a decision to move those artifacts out and the building is closed, I do not know if there is a need to have staff, period.
But my question is, when we do that, during just that process, who is going to oversee it?
It was my understanding in the proposal provided to us by the Friends of the Libby Museum that they were going to take that responsibility on themselves as part of the move of those artifacts into a secure location, was my recollection.
So Paul can fill us in on this. I had a conversation with Suzanne Ryan about this, and Paul should be able to speak on it better because he's the representative to the Libby.
So before you do that, fill me in on your conversation so I make sure I don't stub my toe.
So
Excuse me for clearing my
the first time they came to us with this recommendation was, I believe, in June, when they first, June or July, they came to us and said, we can move all this for you. But they have never offered to determine which artifacts would be moved. They do not have a storage facility. They actually do not have a moving company. I was told that what they would do is they would pay the bill for 3 to 5 years, but it's going to fall on us to know what's being packed up and taken away, to have a company, and to get it into storage. So it's a lot different than what I thought their proposal to us was.
Correct. We have yet as a board to accept their proposal. I think on the upcoming agenda, there will be a motion to accept their proposal. Brian is correct. When these things, like anything, if something's important, you should write it down. And what was written down was an offer, a high-level offer. We're going to accept their offer. The question then becomes, Suzanne did a very nice job the other night putting the visuals on the desk. We need to figure out with them who boxes it up, where it gets stored, what's the insurance that's going to be attendant to that, so we don't just let it go and then have an issue. And I will gladly, as the liaison with the Friends, if the board wants me to do it, I'll work those details out once you approve the motion. Now, the question then is, and I think Brian or whomever made it correctly, the question is from this side of the fence, do we need, a set of eyes that looks at what's being done to make sure, and I don't know the answer to that. My suspicion is we'll professionally want it carted up and moved out of the building. And it's unclear to me whether we need staff to do that.
But I think that if we leave staff in here, we would have some money that we could use to pay somebody.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of thinking we should leave the salary and benefits in. And since it isn't formed and it does give us money to get somebody, whether it's the curator or not, but it might be somebody who can overlook it. So my gut feeling is we leave it alone and leave it there.
So, Dave?
Yeah, go
So,
ahead.
yeah, 2 points on that. First, I agree with Linda. And second, a few months ago, I put a note into the town manager, and I think you all saw it, where I asked of the monies that are in the various funds, the capital reserve, and I think the Schroth, I wanted a delineation of what those monies could be used for, and I believe the question of storage was an ask. So there's money in there to cart it out, but I think we're not talking a lot of money here. We should keep this money in the budget and use it as appropriate.
We may want somebody there to check the list off of what's going out, and there's all sorts of things we might want. I don't think in either one of those, well, the Throff Fund, we can use whatever way we want. The Capital Reserve Fund, I don't think would have money for a staff person to oversee the collection being removed, so.
It wasn't for staff, though. It was for the actual process.
Yes.
So I'm probably an eternal optimist here, but with sane minds and direct questions, I think we can probably knock down a who does what on a piece of paper. But first things first, this board will get a motion. I'll proffer it next week. Actually, I gave it to Amy. It should be in your board packet for us to accept that generous offer by the Friends of the Libby and move forward from there.
And I've done a little bit of phone calls and digging, and it's going to be very difficult to find somebody to pack and move that stuff, and it's going to be even more difficult to find conditioned space that is not only heated in the winter, but air conditioned in the summer. and it's going to be damn expensive.
So what's the difference then of the conditions that it's been in already?
Well, the issue is, and we can put it in a garage somewhere if we want.
I
And it's-
thought that the Friends said that they would store the stuff.
Yeah, if I could, Dave, I have a different perspective on that. I mean, Mr. Duche offers it's going to be really hard, impossible, tough to do, and my question rhetorically would be, okay, then what? What do you want to do? We have to explore that if we really think that we have to put it in conditioned space.
Well, let's put it this way.
Let's figure out where we have some conditioned space.
I think we can put it in a space in better condition
In better
than where it
condition,
is
that's
right now. So I think that's pretty
You're right,
simple.
Linda, it's the degrees of suck.
So who's going to be the person who determines what goes where, when it goes, how it's packed,
Us.
and so on and so on? So you're going to do it, Paul?
Us.
So you're going to determine where the
Us.
canoes go and where the skeletons go and
Us.
where the glass beads go?
Us. We,
To come later.
until further notice, we're the trustees.
All right, so we're going to take the 4 volumes that Suzanne put in front of us, and we're going to go through piece by piece, and we're going to determine where it's all going.
We're going to have a lot of nights together.
We'll be hanging out together. We're going to get thirsty to buy dinner.
Yeah,
It's going to be awesome.
I'd like a better answer instead
Brian,
of
I'm
a
not trying to
non-answer.
trivialize it, but it's not as if this has not been done before in other places. And we're not talking about moving the contents of La Louvre or the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston. We are talking about the contents of this. I may be massively, totally minimizing the degree of difficulty. Let's get into it and figure out what we want to do, or not. And I don't think a not is the right thing to do. So let's try it, see what happens. You might be storing it near your house.
So are we going to actually do it, or are we going to talk about
Well, we have a motion that's going to come before you. You'll have to vote on it.
it? All right.
So I think we're getting grossly off topic
Yeah, I
of
was
the
gonna
budget
say,
of the Libby Museum compared to the actions that you will be
Yep.
taking relative to the collection.
Jim, leave it alone. Leave the budget alone for 2026.
That's where I am.
Yep.
Thank you.
So your next revisit in front of you is the assessing budget. Did reach out to Linda and Todd to go back to the last time that there was a large separation between the reevaluation that was performed in 2010, and there was no record of the number of abatements that were taken. So in front of you, you have a proposal based on the conversation which took place with a motion going forward to decrease the assessing budget to $173,674, which would equate to line 490 to $4,640.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Your next one is the Health Department budget. It was a data entry error as the budget came across. So we have in front of you the corrected budget with a series of line items. What transpired was when you got the budget and it came in front of you, the salary and benefits in the 100 series included salaries and benefits. So it wasn't broken out. So we've gone through and we've corrected that based on the narrative that's in front of you about that. And as well, we reduced the professional development line by that 100 as well, as recommended.
Motion the 2026 Select Board proposed Health Department budget be 11,450. Do you want the delineations in there, Jim?
You can just put as presented.
As delineated on your memo of October 8th,
Second.
2025. Thank you.
Somebody second that?
Yep.
Brian?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, your next one is fire rescue. One of the items which Selectman Deshaies' motion, and I believe you all bought into, was trying to get the operating budget down, level to last year for the operating budget. We took and kind of worked with the chief and just punched those numbers in. Obviously, depending on what happens within his budget, he has the ability to request transfers within the line items. I would also note that the safety equipment reduction that you see there, that's reduced based on that firefighter going out and into the operating budget as discussed, or into the warrant article as discussed.
So motion to approve the fire and rescue budget as presented this evening.
You want to put the numbers in there, Brian, if you would, please?
Okay, so we're reducing the budget by $11,200. The reductions are as follows. Line item 01422-00351, medical services reduced by 1,000. Line item 01422-00430, vehicle maintenance reduced by 3,300. Line item 01422-00680, safety equipment reduced by $5,400. And line item 01422-00820, professional development by $1,500.
Second.
Okay, thanks, Brian. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Okay, your next one is the planning department. This adds into the budget the fees associated with
I just wanted their motion.
the updates to E-codes, which used to be in the town clerk's budget. It got removed from the town's clerk's budget. It got put into the planning budget, but it never got entered into the planning budget. This enters that $2,200 into the planning budget as discussed.
Motion the 2026 Select Board proposed Planning Department budget increase from 174,105 to 176,305 as per Town Manager's memo of October 8th, 2025.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, one of the revisit items that was discussed was internet services. This memo, or this email, lays out response from Fran Bradley indicating that it's cable services exclusively and not for internet services.
Thank you for doing this, Jim, because I was the one who was poked on this one.
Yep.
But there's also something here at the beginning that Mr. Bradley, who's the government affairs person at Breezeline, mentioned, and that is that under a new order from the FCC, third order, if we get complimentary services, TV station services, they can deduct it from the franchise fees, or could be deducted from the franchise fee. I think that in our contract with them, we did not address the could and could not. And since it's a de minimis swing, I'm not going to poke at it. We just got to be mindful that if we start putting in television services at our different facilities, that could be a deduction from franchise fees, which then has an effect on how we compensate Wolfeboro Community Television.
Yeah, and he made that very clear in the last sentence. So far, we have not done that.
Okay.
So that
And just for
answers.
the record, we cleaned up all of those. Remember when we did the contract last year? We had a bunch of these things that
Were
either
non-existent.
left in disconnected or all kinds of crazy stuff. Got it.
Yep.
Thank you.
So the next item is the administrative allocation and the salaries for the Director of Public Works. So you have two screenshots in front of you. The top screenshot is from the administrative allocations. The bottom screenshot is the narrative associated with the Public Works budget. When I entered the data into the Public Works budget, I entered the percentages wrong. So the percentage is actually 50, 25, 25, and that brings everything into alignment with Mr. Randall's salary. So there's no real action that needs to be taken, but I hope that this helps you to understand the administrative allocations as it's applied to Mr. Randall's salary.
Thank you. That's what I was looking for.
All good? Perfect. Okay, next item. So there was a conversation the other night about capital outlays. I went through a bunch of the historical documents about a minimum amount for capital outlays. Going back to 2016, I could not find anything that in our previous guidelines said anything about a minimum amount. I think it's a legitimate conversation that we should have going forward for the 2027 budget to clearly delineate. Under this, it's in the operating budget. Correct. Over this, it's in a capital out, or it could be a capital outlay item. So that is the narrative that you see in the budget guidelines that were approved and then went to the department heads. I do think that this is a cleanup item that is very easily taken care of in 2027.
Okay.
All good?
My only question, do the department heads all come to you with their capital outlay requests prior to August 29th?
Yeah, I think we had them all in previous to the August 29th timeframe. There may have been one that there was a request to have additional time. The other item I would say was the three from Mr. Randall that came forward were originally in his budget, and when we sat down and had the budget deliberations, I said, pull those out and put them into capital outlay, take them out of your budget.
And that's what made me ask the question, because of the size of those.
Yep. Okay.
Just a question for Sam. Is there in your experience, is there a threshold when you start saying that's a depreciation potential capital asset?
It used to be 5,000. They also look at useful life. Anything that's going to last more than a year potentially could be depreciated and considered a capital asset, but in this case, I'm thinking 10 or 25,000 would be my recommendation.
Not for consideration tonight, because we want to kind of chew on it, but, the question for you would be, at what point in your world do you look at something and say, that's a depreciable asset, and if you could give us some guidance, whether it's useful life or a dollar amount, that'll help us figure out how we can say, that's capital outlay.
And I think the thing we want to make sure that there's consistency. Some people look at their budget and it's going down, and I'll just take that and put it over in capital outlay. Yeah. And I think that's where I remember the 10 was we didn't want them to do that, because that was a good way to get your budget down.
And well, at the end of the day, the voter still pays the same amount of money.
Right, but your budget your budget was fine.
Yeah, so this is definitely a cleanup item for 2027.
Yes, it is.
So this is going to be the loaded one, okay? So I have had a conversation with legal regarding police vehicles. There was a conversation that was taking place about no new lines, and if we were to put capital outlays out and the budget is voted down to a default budget, can we or can we not purchase the cruisers? Nathan and I had a long conversation about this, and where we ended up landing was this is an important item. The department is in trouble with cruisers. That prompts us to think that it is prudent to put it into the operating budget under machinery and equipment and note it as a one-time expenditure. Therefore, going forward, it's noted as a one-time expenditure. It would not be part of future default budgets based on that note, and it is tied to a line item that already is existing. So we came together and felt that this is the right place to put this. If the voters vote the budget down and the police department has funds in the bottom line of their budget to buy a cruiser, they can buy a cruiser based on a line item transfer performed by the selectmen. If they have money to buy two, they could buy two based on a line item transfer, because we have made it clear in the operating budget that it's an item to be purchased.
So now you're talking one car, not two?
No, we're still talking two cars.
So you're going to put two of them in here?
So
Yeah, it says on the bottom.
we are
I didn't read
asking
it.
you
Yes.
to increase line 740 from 1,300 to $136,746.
So did you ask Nathan my question, whether or not one could be put under this machinery and equipment, and could one be put as a standalone warrant article? My understanding is that if the warrant article fails, the one that's still in the budget, if the budget passes, is still there and okay, because it's two different items. Now, if both the budget fails and the warrant article fails, they get no cruisers. But if the budget goes down, the warrant article could still pass. If the warrant article goes down, they still have one that's built in their budget. That's the way that I wanted to do it.
So he believes, for transparency purposes, not hiding two separate cruisers in two separate lines within the budget would be problematic.
I don't see how it's not transparent. You have a warrant article.
One would be
for
a warrant article.
Yeah, one would be a warrant article, one would be under machinery and equipment. They're both there.
Is that what you would like to do?
That's what I'd like to do. I don't know what the rest of the board wants to do.
I am coming to you based on what we heard. It was whether or not we could add a line item to the budget if the budget failed. We felt very strongly that machinery and equipment defines a police vehicle, and that is the place to land it. Again, the reason I sit here and say it's in the operating budget, voters have told us for 2 years, no, it is a very important item for that department to be able to operate in 2026 with their fleet and the mileage on those. So if you want to break them out and do a separate warrant article, I think you can, but I think it is just, it's transparent, but it's in two separate places.
Mr. Chairman?
I think we ought to listen to town council, that's my feeling.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to make sure I'm clear with how you explained it, Jim. So if we follow the recommendation here, we're going to create, my words, a below-the-line item that is the total of those two cruisers. The budget of the police department is going to be
Yes.
X.
Yep.
Below the line will be a plus up one time on that budget. And so next year, assuming everything is perfect, the police department starts from X, not X plus below the line. That is
correct.
I'm very comfortable.
Because we've identified it is a one-year
Okay,
appropriation.
as long as we just make sure it's below the line, so, because we'll all be someplace else, we just don't want to start at a higher level. I agree with your advice here that says this is what council told us, I'm comfortable with it.
Did you, I think one of the questions I asked was if we put one in the budget and one out, and the one in the warrant article fails, could you then purchase the second one within the budget?
He thinks that it's only the one.
Okay,
He
that
feels
was my
strongly that
question.
it was only the one.
Yeah.
If you're told no over here and yes over here,
Yeah.
you get this one, but you don't get that one.
And the voters get to
That could be-
decide how
Yeah.
many they
Okay, that's what I wanted clarity on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Have we had any feedback from the police commission?
So I had the conversation with Captain Livy on this matter today. So I don't think he's probably broached this with the commission. Captain?
So I'll be shot down, but I'll make a motion to increase line 01421000740 from 1,300 to,
Divide that in half.
yeah, that's what I'm doing.
I'll tell you what while you're dividing, what
Yeah.
concerns me is what that does to the whole budget. It makes it just that much more of an increase, and I played around today and looked at where our major increases just in the operating, and the biggest increase, of course, is in the ambulance. And we got a big one in the public safety, and the other places is in public works. That will really yank up the police budget. And so,
All right, so I can continue. So from 1,300 to 69,673 for a one-time expenditure for a police vehicle, and to have a second police vehicle listed as a standalone warrant article.
I'll second it for discussion.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
So a few minutes ago, and I may be wrong, but the analogy at least works for me. A few minutes ago, we had a brief conversation about, let's just put that over on capital outlay. It feels to me like we're doing that, we're prospectively doing that in an analogous way. When all is said and done, if both the warrant and the budget pass, the voter's going to pay no matter what. So wherever you put it, the voter's going to pay. So, and I appreciate the comment about the optics of the budget. Call it what it is, and I'm comfortable leaving the advice you received from council in play.
So the legal advice sounded like an opinion, not really legal advice.
Advice.
And we can do what we think is right for the town.
So let's just call it what it is. A lot of the municipal finance laws is very gray.
Correct.
Should be.
And I believe that this way, and everybody can disagree with me, this way, as a voter, and I'm going to put myself in my voting shoes, I'm going to go into the voting booth and I'm going to look and I'm going to see that I can either approve a budget with 2 cars in it, or I can approve a budget with 1 car in it, and if I think that the police department needs 2 vehicles, I have an option of giving the police 2 vehicles, or giving them 1 vehicle, or giving them no vehicles. That gives me 3 options. This way, we're giving the people a choice to give them 2 vehicles or no vehicles, if they put us in a 3rd-year default budget.
So it may be a point when people decide that the police department needs 2 vehicles and they vote to approve the budget
Yeah.
based on that.
It's too,
But wait a minute.
I don't know if that one item will sway the
But technically speaking, if I heard correctly, and this is just pushing back on your argument, technically speaking, if we had a situation where the budget went into default, the PD could, if they could find the funds, could fund a cruiser, potentially 2, which would be outrageous. If you guys can come up with 2 cruisers, that would be outrageous, but could fund 1. So it kind of moderates your argument a little bit.
It makes me wonder if we can go on a default budget and spend $136,000
Shame on us.
on cruisers.
Shame on us.
so I start looking at, look what we have in that default budget that would go out. We'd have an ambulance. you know, a police cruiser. I mean, we've got some big items. That's the thing that's making me nervous about putting them both in this budget. I'm almost heading towards where Brian is to have one in and one out. Because the impact to the operating budget would be $69,000 less. And the increase that's in this budget worries me tremendously. I went in and I started looking at, you know, the ambulance is our biggest driver. It was voters supported, but when they see the increase in the operating budget, will they remember that? And that's what's one of the main, that is, it takes about 32% of the increase, and I'm just taking the operating lines. I'm not using the salary lines.
And I'm all about giving the voters choices.
Well, I'm looking at what we really think we have to have,
Yeah.
and what is the best way to get what we really have to have. And that's why I'm kind of going where you are, Brian, is because I think there is, I'm concerned about the budget, and yet there's that warrant article out there, and I think there's a real good case with the number of cars that are in trouble. And how many did you take off out of service? One? Is there
There's one down.
one down, so you would be,
But more coming down soon.
you're down two. See,
So, yeah, and I think the voters are going to look at it and they're going to say, we haven't given the police department cars in a while. And the budget hopefully passes this year. I think that the citizens are going to see that we've worked real hard at it to get it to pass. And then I think they're going to look at it and say, the police department needs two cruisers, and we'll give them a second one in the warrant article. That's my take on it. And it gives, like I said, it gives the voters options. It's not tying their hands and saying, well, you're going to pass the budget, you're giving them two cruisers. It gives them options.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. I'll make a motion then to increase
What was the vote? I didn't,
3 to 2.
It
see.
failed.
Defeated. I'll make a motion to increase line 740 from 1,300 to 136, 746, one-time expenditure for police vehicles. Is
Second.
there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Nope.
Okay.
And in this, in line 740, it is going to describe that it is a police vehicle replacement of one and a one-time expenditure.
Correct. One-time expenditure for police vehicles.
If it was a
Two of 'em,
replacement
right,
of
there's two in
two,
this.
not one.
Yes,
One-time expenditure
sure,
for two
for
vehicles.
two vehicles, yes.
For one.
That is
Yes,
correct.
I meant to meant two vehicles, one-time expenditure for two vehicles.
And it's below the line, whatever that
Yes, it's
right-
going to, and it's going to be listed there, so we can,
Big bold face.
yes, big, bold, underlined, starred.
And next year, there'll just be another one-time expenditure for 150,000 or something else. And the next year, and then,
Brian,
Happens
Brian,
and that
sometimes we lose and we lose
No, I know.
graciously.
Okay, so your next item, for some reason, this didn't tab correctly on that computer upstairs. So you have the Clark Complex capital outlay item for $50,000. I didn't, traditionally, on your revisit nights, you go through all of the capital outlays one last time. So here are the capital outlays. What would you like to do with the Clark Complex?
You know, this is tough. Okay, here's a perfect example. We talk about we can't take care of our buildings, and what's the first thing we're going to take out is this. Yes, we're going to just whack away at them. But there is, I mean, the increases, we've got to do something. It breaks my heart to take that one out, but I think the reality is we'd lose it all.
we could do two of these if we only did one police car.
Brian, you lost. Just let it go. We lost.
We'll
I'm
pass it.
comfortable.
With respect, put a lid on it. I mean, let's put that one
I
on.
understand, you lose some time.
So, comment?
What do you want to do? You want to take each one at a time?
I think that that is the right way to do this.
Okay.
I'll be blunt with you. The Clark Complex and the tennis courts for me are a tie. The broom for the Public Works is a do. The other two items in Public Works, I think you pull out. The Bridge Falls cameras, I think you pull out,
Pull them out?
remove them.
I wouldn't mind moving some of this to warrant articles.
Before you do that, if you wouldn't mind. Dave?
Yeah, go ahead.
So my initial reaction is I'm rolling the clock back here, where we had a bunch of people standing up here, and how in the hell did this building get the way it is? Right? So, I'm kind of like, oh, shit. Oh, jeepers. So there's a part of me that says, let's not continue to do that to ourselves. And let's not, unfortunately, when we do pairwise analysis, let's make sure we have rational pairs that we analyze. Clark versus a cruiser is not rational, to me, no disrespect. So I'm in for the Clark. Tennis courts, they're busted, right? Weren't they busted last year?
I went down there, and I didn't look at the tennis courts, but I look at the basketball courts, and it seems like you could just seal. There were not a lot of open spaces in the basketball courts.
Right.
I didn't. Let me go to I'm going to go with an idea that Brian had that I agree. I had the same thing. I think the Clark complex, you have the repair of the schoolhouse and you have the Clark house. I think it would be about a $200,000 warrant article to take care of the two. I'd feel comfortable taking those out and doing it as a warrant article myself.
So you'd say take out the Clark and the schoolhouse and create a warrant article of a couple of hundred?
Yeah, what's here is, yes, and you in our book, we have the schoolhouse was estimated at 150, and the other one's 26. So I'm just saying it would be around 200,000, maybe a little less, and we could take care of those two things and get them done.
Yep.
And
the citizens have said they want their buildings cared for. This way they can see what's going to be spent. It will be in front of them. They can vote yes or no.
yeah. And I was going to jump down to the tennis courts. Linda talked about the basketball, not the tennis courts, the cameras. So why, Jim, in your view, is the camera systems, first of all, it's a big number. I mean, 31,000 for cameras is a lot. I mean, why out?
I still need to get a definition of if the money is in the Bridge Falls Path Capital Reserve or if it has to be moved out.
Out of where?
The capital reserve.
Okay.
So we appropriated a certain amount of funds. It shows that it's been encumbered, but it does not show that it's been expended. I believe that was to the tune of
That was $250.
$34,000. Yeah, I think there's $34,000 left in that account. The other issue is we got to make some cuts.
I agree.
And, the Clark complex, I think, is important. I think the tennis courts, we are aware it came in front of us last year.
Right.
It's here again this year.
Right.
I believe this is the first year the Bridge Falls Path cameras. It would be nice to have cameras down there.
I would say that we take, now, when we're doing the tennis courts, are we doing the pickleball courts also?
I believe it's the whole thing.
The whole taco.
So, yeah, and the basketball. I would put those out as a warrant article. I think that there'd be enough support from the pickleball community and the tennis community to say yes to that.
I'm sorry, I haven't finished my question on the cameras. Your argument, I didn't hear an argument that says, that's a dumb idea, it doesn't make sense. Well, your argument was about where the money was in what bucket. Now, I hate to use like present day, but we just closed bathrooms and posted it on the World Wide Web because we have vandalism. And I know people are going to go a little nutty about surveillance, but setting the price at $31,000 aside, which seems to me to be an awfully big number, are we suggesting that we want to continue to have present method of operation on Bridge Falls Path, knowing that we've also had members of the public tell us that they want more eyeballs, physical, I mean, a patrolman going down. I'm just, it doesn't logic to me, okay? So I'll just leave that there for the moment.
So cameras are wonderful, but they're a reactionary device. They are not proactive, in my opinion. We have cameras, it's my understanding, at the Fossfield Pavilion.
We do.
Yeah.
Yep.
We just figured out how to hook them up to the
are
police
we-
department the other day.
Are we seeing a reduction in the vandalism taking place? I don't think we have.
And there's not as much that Bridge Falls Path doesn't have buildings and facilities and things that can be damaged. They can paint on rocks and trees and things like that and whatnot. It could be for the safety of catching somebody if somebody mugs somebody or takes their purse, but I haven't heard that happening in record numbers in the town of Wolfeboro.
Can I ask then, can we carry the cameras forward to your next meeting? So that
Sure.
I can get a clear definition of if that money is still available in that capital reserve fund, or if it has to be transferred
Yeah.
out
Perfect.
for
Correct.
the
Let's delay
payment
that one.
of the
Well, if the money's
utility
there.
poles that were installed.
Yeah.
I think
idea.
that's great.
Another thing to think about, and this may or may not, because some activity on the path may or may not be in the realm of juveniles, which we are not going to talk about, but it might not be a bad idea to inquire from the police department calls for service that have taken place on the Bridge Falls Path, or actually, to your point, Jim, reactions to things that have happened on the Bridge Falls Path, as opposed to somebody saying, I think I just got mugged, reactions to things down there. That's all. And then with it, I think if we know where the money is or could be, and we understand whether we really do have calls for service or reactions to calls for service, right? As to the point of people who are vandalizing bathrooms, I agree. Cameras are not going to reach out and arrest anybody, but hopefully we now understand or know where the vandals are and coming from. So I agree with the delay for the next meeting.
So I think one of the things that you have to think about on the path is people make donations and they give us benches, and when people do that, they want us to protect their donations. And I'd like to see Jim go back and find that money in the warrant article that's left, and so we can come back and say we got the money. But other than that, to spend $31,000 on something that we probably could spend $5,000 cleaning benches, because that's where the vandalism is.
I think Jim can take care of this, go find out what we have, and then we can spend some time, each of us, before that meeting, thinking about which way we want to go.
Because if that money is there, you can authorize that to happen now, and this comes out of the budget, and the project gets done before the end of the year. If that money's not there, then this is a legitimate conversation. A decision's got to be made.
Thanks.
All right. Any of the others items?
So have we made decisions on what we're going to do with this stuff?
Again, I would sit here, and I know this isn't popular, but I would move out the Public Works garage equipment, and I would move out the solid waste.
Again, the solid waste, isn't that maintenance money?
Yeah,
Painting
it
and
is,
stuff.
it is maintenance for the building.
Here we go again.
Yeah.
Do they have any money in there?
Yeah, but I think that the takeaway is, you know, we did spend about $120,000 up there a couple years ago.
Just put a new floor in, right?
We've spent money this year
On the
that we,
floor.
or was it this year or last year?
Last year.
Last year.
That, with the new floor,
Yeah.
that was money that we did not budget, that
Uh-oh.
we were able to reassign within the budget. And frankly, I think the volume of work that needs to be done to the solid waste building, it far exceeds $9,000.
Okay, that's out.
So I think Steve said to us, Public Works garage equipment is affecting the AC of the new cruisers and all I mean, the cruisers are old, so they need to be recharged, and then they need tire balancing equipment, which is safety on the road. So we're balancing safety and our old cruisers, because we're running old cruisers and we're not running new cruisers.
My feeling is go put it back in the budget, and then he can move it up and down whatever way he needs to in the garage to get that.
I would-
Get it
I
out
would-
of capital outlay.
I would go with Brian on this one. I would move that to a warrant article,
The public work garage equipment?
I would
and the
not.
solid waste.
No. I take that equipment, put it back in the operating budget on its line, and then he would have the ability to look at his budgets, and if he really needed, he could, 9,000 is not that big of a number.
So I agree with you. I think the 9,000 is not that big of a number. I also think that this is an asset that manages a lot of equipment across the town. I would certainly hope that as we get close to the close of the year, we can have $9,000 of unexpended funds to be able to purchase this as part of the 2025 budget.
Out.
All right.
Out.
So we have to make a motion to remove the solid waste and the
But
public works?
can we move this now back into the budget?
I have no issues if you move that into the budget right now, and I will try my darndest to have an answer for you about end-of-year funds and the feasibility of purchasing.
And then we could cut it out at that point.
These
How about we revisit?
Let's revisit the 9,000.
Revisit,
Yeah.
okay.
Find a way,
I would-
yeah, we'll come back. And the
We're gonna-
solid waste, Jim, what again is just because?
So I think that building needs a lot more work than $9,000, right? A lot of the metal on the side of the building is beat up. The roof needs painting. I think there's a bigger capital project that needs to take place on that solid waste building. And I don't know if throwing $9,000 at it now is throwing good money after bad, and we come here in 2027 with a capital project for the solid waste building.
Do they have any quotes for the repairs and any numbers, anything?
I don't remember what the thing said, but I think it was to replace a couple of doors or something along those lines. And, you know, the other thing, frankly, if it is an item that is that severe, then why don't we do it now under the Building Maintenance Capital Reserve Fund?
All right.
And the answer you got when you asked that question?
I didn't ask that question. I just proffered it now.
Okay, so the other thing was the Public Works broom?
That stays.
That stays.
That is a piece of equipment that has to
We
stay,
hadn't talked about
in my
that.
opinion.
Okay. So it sounds like the tennis courts and the Clark complex, if I'm trying to follow the bouncing ball here, could go out as a warrant. More information required on the cameras. The broom is in. Public Works garage equipment is, need more information, but you think that could be funded in 25. Solid waste, the corrugated metal on the side of the building, could come out of, if you could, the current capital reserve
For building maintenance.
for building maintenance. Okay. What?
So I'll make a motion to remove $9,000 for the solid waste capital outlay.
Second.
Yeah, all in favor?
For discussion.
Oop.
So what's the rationale?
The rationale is, if it's an emergency, Jim said that we will see if there's money available in the capital reserve building maintenance fund. $9,000 is probably enough in that account. And if not, we'll put it together for a larger warrant article for next year, because there's more that needs to be done to the building than what they requested, which was a couple of doors and some painting.
So how do
That
we,
about sums it up.
I understand, I'm just, so Jim's gonna tell us whether or not we have the money this year
Yeah.
to fix it?
Correct.
Yeah, so I'll get greater clarity from Steve on the items. I don't have it right in
Why
front of
don't
me.
we do a
I didn't print it
revisit
off.
on that before we make a motion on that?
We made a motion in a second. You
Motion
can
and second,
shoot it
correct.
down. But we have plenty of money. I think there's over 100,000 in the building.
Yeah, I want to
capital
say,
reserve.
Yeah.
So I think it can get done.
So we're gonna pull it out, but we're gonna spend the money that we have.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Spend the money we put in the bank already.
All right,
That's it as
Get
he
it
gave
done
us.
what- there instead of
Okay.
here.
Well,
Yeah.
we're gonna get more information from Jim.
I'm okay with it.
so you have a motion on the floor, but if Brian wants to remove it, I can have a definitive answer for you when you meet next week. If not, you can move forward.
Want me to remove it?
Yep.
Okay, I'll pull my motion back.
Okay.
Well, if the complement's zero.
Okay.
It's a,
Electric
Okey-dokey.
light.
So-
we didn't do, have we,
Okay, Schmokey.
So we haven't really done a lot.
can I make,
this
I'm going to
year.
make a motion that we remove the Clark Complex $50,000 and add it to the quotes that we receive and put it out as a warrant article. It'll be about 200,000.
With the schoolhouse.
The whole thing will be
Yeah,
about.
with the schoolhouse too.
Yes, it'll
So
be
that would
200.
really make it a Clark
Second.
complex.
It's a complex. This doesn't say house, it says
Yeah.
complex, and that's part of the complex.
Okay,
You second?
I second it.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor?
aye.
And I'll make a motion that we take the $46,500 for the tennis courts and we put that in a warrant article.
I'll second.
Okay, any further
Yeah,
discussion?
why?
Why? Because they need to be repaired.
Stipulated.
I think we got good documentation and 2 quotes or 3 quotes from Christine last year, and we pulled it last year out of the budget, and I think it's time to do it. And you can do that just based on the age of the court, and if you call any of these companies, because I did call some, that do these repairs, they say in New England, after X number of years, if you don't make sure that you protect it, you lose it.
So we've demonstrated that Christine has done a fair enough job getting competitive assessments.
Yep.
You verified that you got to fix it. I mean, ignoring it is probably not the smartest thing we could do. The only issue that I'm just straggling with here is the argument that says it should come out of the operating budget and it should go in as a warrant article. Why is that? Is it a optics?
I would say it's because
It's a choice.
it's a choice, not a necessity.
It's a choice. They can decide, we can explain it's the second year, you know, and if they're willing to spend the money to do it, you know, we've tried to bring down the operating budget to a certain realm, and this is a choice item.
It's not-
We need it,
Yeah.
and so if you're in support of doing that, vote in favor.
It's
So
not,
just to
it's
help-
not the same as police cars, sewer and water.
I'm
It's,
just trying to rationalize in my mind. So we're saying to the voters, look, we could leave it in the operating budget, because we
No.
really think, we could, because we really think it's important, but we want you to make a decision as to whether you agree with us that these courts are in need of repair.
That's right, because we are hoping that you'll vote for the operating budget. So we're giving you a choice. We're going to have a lower operating budget, and here's some of the other ones that you can vote in favor
Correct.
of.
I'm
That's what
okay with that,
looking
too.
at.
Pardon?
I'm okay with that.
You are?
Yep.
That we would say to the voters, we want you to help us agree that, on a warrant basis, that these courts need repair.
Yeah, I guess we want them to make some decisions on how they want to spend their money.
Yep.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Okay?
All right.
Can't hear you. Can't hear. Okay.
Okay, Jim, what's next?
I think you have a motion on the floor to vote on.
I'm okay with it.
So we didn't vote on that?
Okay.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye. Okay with it.
Okay.
Okay. So that's, that will have those, more information for your next meeting. Municipal electric, so Barry had 2 capital outlay item requests. Building repairs for $80,000, which he articulated what he'd like to do, and to initiate engineering for the submarine cable replacement, which I believe is proposed for 2027 as a project in the CIP, for a total ask of $170,000. Overall, in Barry's budget, under municipal electric, adding these into the budget brings his budget from $10,751,880 to $11,147,262 for an increase in his operating budget of $395,382, or 3.68% compared to 2.5% without it.
Yeah, my understanding is these are already calculated into the fee, and the electric fund does not affect the tax rate. The only thing that affects the tax rate is the general fund, so we can leave these here. They're already accounted for in our fees, and it will not affect the tax rate.
Correct.
That is 100% correct, Linda.
Yep,
Plus or minus.
no plus or minus.
No plus or minus.
It's
It doesn't
correct.
affect the tax rate.
And again, this is
built into the
this is taking care of the building.
So it's built into the cost that everybody pays at 14 cents a kilowatt for their electric.
Yep.
13.5.
And we have the lowest electric rate in all of New England. So it's okay to pay for capital improvements on our electric system for those 2 reasons. We have the most reasonable rates in New England, and it doesn't affect your tax rate.
So do you want a motion to keep these in the budget?
I moved that we keep these 2 in the budget.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Perfect. Okay, so preliminarily right now, you have, and we created a really rough draft of the default budget for 2026.
Thank you for doing that.
That
Yep.
default budget takes the 2025 general fund budget. It subtracts out the reduction in bond payments, principal, interest, and the sewer item transfer. It contemplates the increase in property liability. It contemplates the increase in ambulance staffing. It contemplates the 2025 and 2026 AFSCME and police union contracts in the general fund. So that gives you a default budget at this point estimated at $19,640,553 on the general fund.
Question, Jim?
Yep.
So it does not it anticipates a 10% lift in healthcare? Does
No,
not.
because that's not part of the
Correct.
default
And
calculation.
it does not include anything in impact bargaining from the ambulance folks?
It does not, because that would have
We're
to
not
be
done
a
yet.
separate warrant article for
Right.
any monies.
We're not done yet. Okay, thank you.
And also, Jim, before December 31st, or by December 31st, you're going to have to make an adjustment on what the final expense of our 2025 budget was based on the 12% surcharge that we're paying on our insurance, correct?
No, didn't change that budget. We're going to
Doesn't
have,
change the default budget for 2026.
we're going to have to go ask to overspend the bottom line.
Yeah, it should have no,
That's
unless I misunderstand, it should have no effect on the run rate of the budget because we're going to go to the unrestricted fund balance with permission from the state to overexpend and then just snatch that,
Correct.
take that money and fund it.
And
Correct.
even if this was in the operating budget, that surcharge is a one-time
It's a one-time
expenditure
event.
that would not be part of your default budget calculation.
Yes, that's correct.
It's what was expended.
So people won't see that 377.
You are correct.
But it will be
not
spent.
It will not be in the default budget calculation.
Yeah, they won't see it, but it will be used, we'll acquire those, we'll credit the unrestricted fund balance by 377, which will reduce its balance.
Yes.
So we're going to go to retained earnings and pull that money in.
And we're going to go through a
We've got to go
process,
through a whole.
that's
And if we find,
RSA something
yeah,
or
and when we find out when the new, what the increase in the insurance is for next year, that will be calculated,
Not into the default.
not into default, into our regular
Yeah,
proposed budget.
absolutely. In your regular proposed
Proposed
budget,
budget.
it will be. But this is a summary of the draft of the default budget, which
Correct.
is not due until late December.
which is-
I just
which
wanted
is
to give
right.
you a ballpark idea. People were asking, here it
correct,
is.
correct.
And, the big thing on this is at the bottom, the draft default, all in is 34,124. The 2025 approved is 361. So the differential between the default budget of 2025, which was our approved budget, and the 2026 default budget is $474,000. And right now, all in with all of the budgets, we're looking at a $3.3 million increase.
But really, the only one that's going to affect the tax rate, we go back to that general fund, I want people to really realize that. So in the proposed 2026, there is the 10% increase in the health insurance. You calculated that in. So if we have anything over that, we're going to have to add
put
that
that
to
in.
the proposed. So right now, we're at 1.8 in the general fund that it affects the tax rate over what we think is going to be the default budget. And that's the number.
Yeah, and we've gotten notification that it could be 16%.
That's right. That number could be higher. So that was why I kept on saying I am concerned and why I went with you with the car, because that's a big number. And I would like to see if there's some way we could cut that down. One of the things I did is I went through the whole, and I'm only in the general fund because I'm after the tax rate. I looked at vacant positions, and that was about 700,000. And I was thinking, well, what happens if we didn't fill them for the first 9 months? And looking at different ways that we could bring that number down, because if this budget goes down, we've got a huge issue with the ambulance, because there's quite a bit of money for the ambulance that's not in the default budget. One is the contract, And also, all the money for the warrant article last year, none of that is in the default budget. And I figured out that was about $750,000.
About the same as the hip.
So there's a portion of the ambulance staffing wages that gets brought into the default budget.
How? I'm not being trying to, because here it was, we did it in a warrant article, we hired 3 new people starting in July for half a year. Those 3 people should not be part of our default budget because they were part of a warrant article.
But that funding for that half, all that's in there is that funding for the half a year as the default budget.
I don't understand, I
So
thought,
it's very similar to the collective bargaining agreements. So the collective bargaining agreements come across as they're approved. The staffing for the ambulance is very similar in nature, and that staffing number can come across into the default budget.
so if we staff and approve some staffing in a warrant article, that automatically is in the next year's budget?
That is what I have been led to believe, correct?
Okay? I didn't think that was
So
the
the
case.
the 16% insurance increase would be built into our default?
No.
So then where does that money come from? How would we absorb
It's not-
that?
It doesn't. It doesn't exist. It's not in the default budget.
So we would have to do line item transfer, to get that money?
That's why I'm concerned about that increase.
That's why the differential between the default budget and the proposed budget is so big. I mean, the ambulance staffing number alone is 353, excuse me. And then those collective bargaining agreements are there as well. But the health insurance, no, it does not come across.
Health insurance doesn't, we only have 275,000, I think, for the contracted ambulance from that whole ambulance impact from one year to the next is huge, which is
It's what some people would say is huge.
huge.
So there's several unknowns here. The one unknown is we have no idea what the upward pressure, if any, is going to be on health insurance.
Correct.
It could be student body left here, it could be 16, it could be 10, it could be 0, it could be,
Well, Sam got
It's
a
a big
letter that
number.
said 16.
it could be different. Whatever it
Yeah, it
is.
said the average
Yeah.
statewide, yeah.
So that's and that's a material amount of money because it's on the wage line. All right, so you do the math, it's a material amount of money. I haven't taken the time to do the math, but that could take the 9.7 to a bigger number. You could take it into double digits. All right, so not to debate this here, Linda is looking at the tax bills, and I respect.
Correct. That's what I've been looking at,
If I can
too.
just finish, I respect that a lot. And I've tried to do the same thing, but I'm also looking at water bills, sewer bills, electric bills. Because when all is said and done, it's going to be your taxes, and it's going to be what you pay for water, sewer, and electric. And that's what voters, the ones I talk to, that's what they want to know is all in, what's this going to look like for me? So we're going to, and we had Linda and I had some conversations the other day about could we move things from one place to another, and we can do that, but it's engineering.
Yep.
That's all it is engineering. You're taking that number and you're putting it over in this place, and at the end of it all, the voter still pays the same amount of money. It's engineering, and I just want to make sure I don't know how we deal with this, Jim, but there's no way we're going to know in the next couple of weeks back to health insurance. We're not going to know yet.
So if you use Brian's number of 16%, we've already programmed in 10%. Therefore, it's a 6% up on where we're at now. Simple math, really quick, that's $175,000.
175.
On top of what we've already got programmed into the health insurance line.
So if you just toggle that and say, my math, for whatever dumb reason, double it, 30% would be $375,000.
Sure.
32% would be $375,000. Right?
No.
16% is how much?
No, because that.
What'd you say 16% was, Jim?
The 174 is from
350.
10% increase
To
to
the
16% increase.
If you doubled if you doubled it, it would be 350.
Why would you double it?
I'm just toggling the numbers.
So you're saying if we went from a 16% increase to a 22% increase?
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah, okay. It's big math. I just haven't turned my calculator on to
And
do
we-
it, but it's big numbers.
We will know probably the second week in November.
Yeah, so
they
it's
said
coming
November
around the
10th.
corner.
Let me go back to and ask Jim, the water fund, everything is in the rate that they're paying already. These were calculated in.
Yep.
The electric is, the sewer fund operation is, right? And we'll leave Pop Whalen alone. We're working on Pop Whalen.
Correct.
So those others are not going to, they already have their rate
Correct.
for the projects that are here.
So those
It's
aren't
not gonna
changing, those aren't changing.
No.
Those aren't going to change a
From your
lot.
lips to God's ears.
Yeah.
Those aren't changing.
I mean,
God, he
obviously,
loves
when we get into do the brass tacks of this, there's going to be some moving around of those numbers, but that gives you a gross idea of where we're landing.
So do you think the taxpayers are going to vote in a 9.17% raise? And it may be higher when we get the,
I was trying to make it lower.
well, you and I
for you.
did part of it. So I just, I've been trying my hardest to figure out where you cut. For a while, I went through and said, I took all the operating budgets in the general fund, and I said, well, what happens if you take 2% and 3% and 4%? And then I looked at the different budgets, and some of them gave us a level funding.
Yep.
So we would be cutting them. So then I kind of thought my percentage really didn't work for some of these people who took their pencil out and really kept theirs down. We could try to take a set of men out and say, Jim, take it throughout the budget,
Well,
we didn't take it as we went through here. We didn't say on this budget we want that, so.
so I mentioned on several budgets to try and get it as close to level funding as we could, and the fire department came back and they did that for us. And there are the EDC is below. I mean, there are departments. Barry's at 3% with all that he does, and it doesn't affect our tax rate anyways. We do have some expenses that we could cut. I would like to see anybody who isn't already level funded to see if we could get 2% off of their bottom line budgets.
That's just that. You just pick two.
Correct.
Yeah,
Scientific, but you pick two.
if I took 2 out of all of them, I'd get 116,000.
Yeah.
It just isn't my.
But you don't need to take 2 out of fire.
I just was trying to get some kind of a feeling
I
of
think
what we could get.
Linda's doing a different way. You did one way, she's just trying to do it a different way.
So, if you take a look at it, you got the ambulance, which is the big driver. You got technology, I don't see how those are things we need in order to function. We need an ambulance service. You got 94,000 in the public safety building. You've got Public Works probably 200 and some odd $1,000. Those are the big drivers in what this is going out.
Jim, how much percentage did the fire department give us in order to get down to
On a
level?
percentage basis, I'm not sure.
I think it was about 1.5, wasn't it, or something like that?
I don't remember, Brian.
So their 1.5, they already gave us almost their 2%. And they did it very easily. If you remember, when I asked
Well,
Tom...
okay, we'll take technology. In technology, we'd have to take $7,403. In ambulance, we'd have to get $12,704. Public safety would be $2,000. Highways and streets would be 19. My ambulance number doesn't look right. The highways and streets, about 19. I mean, Is that the way we want to go? Solid waste, 18, those are fees that are set. Well, a
And
bunch of-
solid waste, I think, came in at a number that is very close to
Yeah.
their last year's budget.
So I'm going to,
You know, Paul, Linda, and I had a quick conversation yesterday, and I'll just lay it out there. As Paul alluded to, in the big scheme of things in setting the tax rate, it's engineering the finances. 2 years ago, the Board of Selectmen had a conversation about whether or not they should put the ambulance contract out to warrant. Board of Selectmen made the decision not to do that because our concern was the no means no factor. We're in a different position today, and I would not promote this, but you could put the contracted ambulance service out to a warrant article similar to what was done 2 years ago that reduces the operating budget by $560-some thousand. If the voters approve it, we have the contract for the year. If the voters don't approve it, then I've got to have a conversation with the fire chief about standing that ambulance service up quicker, which is something we do not want to do.
you see risk in doing that.
I do see risk in doing that.
Yeah, this is the conversation we have. There's risk in doing that.
There is.
Okay.
So, but the question is, you know, you could do that and you could literally cut $500,000 off of the operating budget optically, but if it passes, it doesn't change the tax rate item.
Yeah, if it passes, we're just moving, they're going to pay the same amount of money.
Correct.
Yeah. I'm,
But if it doesn't pass, they're not.
so,
So, I mean, that's what we're playing with here, is what they feel like they can afford to pay.
And I do
so,
believe that warrant passed very overwhelmingly 2
It
years
did.
ago.
yeah.
But it's out there as a choice to do it, and it could go down.
Yep.
You know, they may say, you got it now, you're putting all that amount of money in the budget itself. I'm not going to pay, I can't pay the two.
And
And then we're going to be asking them for another, what, 1.4?
well, but the other advantage it gives you is if the default budget goes down, you have a funded ambulance that you don't have to research to find another $240,000 to fund.
Right. That's,
It's something to think about over the weekend, guys, and if you want to take the budget down $500,000, there's a way to do it right there.
Mr. Chairman?
Yep.
So and I appreciated the conversation. It was a quick one we had, but it was professional, and I like that. I don't know where I come out with this, but I'm asking myself a question about value for the money, because I'm hearing that a bunch. For the buck I give you, what am I getting back? And I've been watching our team come in, and these are my words, unfair they may be, but they're my words. The budgeting that is being done here appears to be a get-by budget. We just need to get by. We need to get it passed. And that's been rattling around in my empty mind for a couple of weeks. And I say to myself, if that's true, and I look at how much money we are apportioning to the different departments, it fundamentally hasn't changed. I mean, the apportionment of the funds is about the same. If we liked what we had, I'm being snarky here, if we liked the budget that we proposed 3 years ago, 2 years ago, 1 year ago, last year, if you like that budget, you should probably get all in on this one, because you're going to get the same value for your money. And I'm being snarky, but I feel very uncomfortable at this moment saying that I'm all in and supporting that. Because I'm just not right now. I have to think over the weekend. I think the lift on this budget is big, and I think it's going to get bigger. We're not talking about, and this is where, and I'll shut up after this, we're not talking about reducing the size of the operating side of this town. We're talking about the growth rate, the growth rate. And I worry that the growth rate is something we should tackle. And I won't give you a percentage, but I'm kind of thinking that we go right at the growth rate, and maybe, as ugly as this is, and Linda, you're right, some people, and Brian, you're right, some people have been responsible and said, I got my budget down to zero growth. Maybe we just give Jim a really hard task and just say, it's a percentage off the growth rate. That's kind of where I'm starting to think. And not get into the situation, disrespectful comment coming, of us telling you 100 tons less of gravel, 14 more culverts. I don't want to get into that business. Somebody, and other people may, because they have more intimate knowledge of what goes on. I don't want to be in that side of it. I want you to help figure it out. So that's all I have to say at the moment.
Yeah, and I come at it in a different way than Paul, and Paul and I have had conversations. I take a look at the services that we're producing and whether we're producing the services that the community wants. And I think we are. And when you look at the growth rate and then you put in something like the ambulance, it skews the growth rate tremendously. And when I was looking at run rates, and I looked it up, they were saying when there were some large new projects that it was hard to get a true run rate, and that run rates are affected. Public safety building would have affected the run rate. So I look at the service. Are we providing the service we want, the community wants? I think we are providing the service they want. And they said they wanted an ambulance. I see the library being used all the time. It's patrons go up. I see Abenaki. I see people using Pop Whalen. I think we are. Are we providing the services at the best cost? I think we can keep working on that, but I want to focus on the service and make sure we're providing the services and not so worried about whether our run rate is where it needs to be or not, and to make a cut. And you and I have talked about this. We struggled with it. I looked at it one way, he looked at another, but I think we all have to try to figure out how we can put this budget out so it makes sense to the public, that we provide them the service at a cost that they think is reasonable. And we're going to need to come to consensus together and work to promote that, because that's the only way this is going to pass.
That's right.
So
Amen.
I've had people that have come to talk to me, and they like the town of Wolfeboro. They like living in Wolfeboro. They think that we could do a better job managing nickels and dimes that would add up to dollars and hundreds and thousands of dollars. They think that a lot of waste gets mixed into our budget that gets overlooked. Now, I know I watch it on a regular basis and we say, well, we can't really cut this, we can't really cut this, we can't really cut this. I understand that. But the perception is that we could do a better job streamlining and spending less. Now, is it possible without cutting services? We're in 2 years of default budget, and there have been cuts, and that's why I'm still waiting. I asked for every department head to give me a list of things that they've had to forego in the last 2 years of default, so that I can present that to people and say, this is what we have had to give up, so that they understand that it has been a squeeze, and we have had to move monies around. and we have had to forego things, forego striping of parking lots, forego other things in the town. But, and it's little, and it's not really relevant to the whole, my stairs on my house have been in need of construction for about 4 years, and I'm letting them slowly sink away until I finally have to fix them next spring. And it's because they were still usable, and I was squirreling my money away so that they could be fixed at the proper time. And I think we have to get a good message out to the people that that's the way we operate. We are trying to be fiscally responsible, because that's the only way that our budget is going to pass, if they think that we're being fiscally responsible. And I think part of that is giving them choices, as many choices, and I know they don't like to fill out 45 warrant articles, but as many choices as where they want their money spent, other than what we have to spend by state RSA and to maintain the town in a safe manner.
Okay,
So I've got one more here. So Jim and I had a conversation today. You know, when you have an electric fund that's 30% of your budget, which really doesn't impact your tax, but gives the optics of being 22 million to 35 million, people look at that number. And the discussion is whether or not we should put that 10,977,262 out on a warrant article to help the optic, so that people would say our budget is really 21,441,000.
And I'm with you, John. I think that we should pull out all the enterprise funds and have them voted on separately. And have the general fund voted on separately.
I know Paul's squeezing his head with his hands over there, but you know, it is the optics. And we signed up for this ambulance service. Now it's becoming a ball and chain, to tell you the truth. We needed it because we knew that we were going to run out of service, but it's costly.
Yeah, and it's going to be tough until you start collecting that revenue,
Right.
point blank. And while you're paying for two services and you're not collecting revenue, it makes it a real challenge. Look, I will take, what I'd like, I guess, is for you guys to think about it over the weekend. I think we need to meet next week. I would like a little bit of input from you as to, Jim, can you get this budget on the general fund to number X? And I will do my damnedest to see what I can do to make that happen.
Bravo.
Well, you know what? I don't even think you need a number from us. I would give you an open hand to look at it and see what you think can really be squeezed. If we give you a number and it's too much, then you're not going to reach it anyways. If we give you a number, if we give you a number that's too small, then we might not get as much as you can find out of it.
And that's what's going to happen if you don't give me a number, is I'm going to look at it and say, well, for 2 years, we haven't had culverts replaced to this level. But could I sit down with Steve Randall and say, look, you and I know that you've got 3 line items in your operating budget that have suffered from 2 default budgets. Let's find a happy medium between the two to give an offsetting reduction to the taxpayer, reduce the bottom line of the operating budget, and in favor of getting this passed. Because if you can buy 50 culverts instead of 25, that's great, but you're not at 75. So finding that balancing act. So while I respect what you're saying, Brian, I think that if you give me a number to shoot for, I can sit down with the department heads and say, look, we need to try to get to this number. What can you find for me in the budget? And I come back to you next week and say, here's what I've got for you, or I can't do it.
Can I, you go first.
Okay, I'll give you a number, 600,000. When I was playing around with stuff, that was a number I kept on coming back to. I think Paul's a little higher than I am.
Correct.
But that was one, when I looked at the vacant positions, I looked around, and when I've done my percentages.
Mine was roughly cut the growth rate in half. I haven't
What's the
finalized.
number?
950,000.
Yeah, well, my number
So
was
if
$1.5 million.
If I could I? So I want to just make 3 comments, because now we're going to go bobbing heads here. So number one, I just want to comment on the ambulance putting it out to warrant. Just my visceral reaction. We have a startup business, and we haven't even generated, it's pre-revenue. We haven't generated a nickel of revenue. And if we put it out in front of the voters, and Brian will jump all over me for this, we're basically saying, hey, we got this startup business. Are you sure you really want to do this? We're in it. And I would counsel against us. I'd say we go forward with this. If the voters think we're doing something really crazy, different discussion.
Yeah, we have
The
to pay for the
likelihood of that business getting a no vote from the voters, even though, Jim, you're right, it was overwhelmingly looked at in the past. We're in a startup business. We have to understand, for me, you go forward with it to a point. Part two, I applaud you for saying, give me a target and I'll hit it. I think that's what boards do. Give you a target and let you hit it. The only thing is I don't want to get called into the principal's office if you give us a target of, choose A or B, and as we did in the springtime, I would argue against, just on principle, if we have a head count opens, fill them or eliminate them. But my argument would be fill them as quickly as you possibly can. Don't mess with that budget. Because when it's done, whatever we decide, you decide, we decide, we are going to be causing more work over a smaller population of people. That is a bad model. So those are my only couple of conditions that I would say. But I'll give you a target.
Here's my 2 cents. My 2 cents is 2%, which falls more than Linda's 6, falls about 700, less than Paul's 9, less than John's 1.5 million. I'll go down to Linda's 6. I'll say that 600 to 700,000 is possible. I want to give you something that's possible, not something that's just a pipe dream that can never be hit. I would also say that I think that the voters spoke, they wanted the ambulance service, it needs to stay in the budget. It just has to. This is a life-saving operation that we need to move to, that we made a decision, that we had very educated people on a committee that's being 100% supported by our fire department. We already have an agreement with Stewart's that they're fading off into the sunset. They're not going to stay with us forever if we decide, guess what? We decided we don't want to do it.
Right.
That's bad optics for the town. That's bad optics for everybody. If we tell Stewart's, by the way, you know what? We decided no. So I think that needs to stay in. And I've done enough thinking. I don't need to think anymore. When Jim came to me and us a month ago and said, it would be a good idea, and then I did some research. I called some towns. I looked on the internet. It's easy to find information nowadays. We all walk around with a computer in our hands. And I found out that many, many towns in New Hampshire break out their enterprise funds for separate warrant articles. It's a good decision. He hit it on the head. He got it right. And I think it's going to add 4 more warrant articles. The people say they want to control things. They want to control our budget. They want to understand our budget. They want to be able to know where their money gets spent. Let's give them as much transparency as possible and let them see, this is one budget I'm voting on, this is another budget I'm voting on, this is another budget I'm voting on, and then we'll take care of what we need to. They'll tell us where they think we are not managing our money. and then we'll manage our money there.
I'll make one comment about the ambulance. Thank you, Jim, for allowing us to have that thought, that there is a possibility of another way. That's what that is. It's another one sitting out there as I did my percentage and you've looked at yours. It's another thing we can think of as we try to grapple to come. And I hope we all can come to consensus and get enough of a cut that we all can be comfortable with to make this budget go forward.
So what I've heard to this point, if I'm understanding this correctly, is, and I'm going to be a little bit
Uncharacteristically candid?
rude. I heard John, I think, say 1.5.
Yep.
Yep.
I think I heard Paul say 900.
Yep.
I think I heard Linda say 600. I think I heard Brian say 2%, which is 520,000. I haven't heard anything from Dave. But I guess one of my questions for you guys is, you've been at this for a month.
Yes. Why didn't we do it here?
Why the hell haven't we done it?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just throwing that out there. Look, I will go in and I will try to find someplace between 600 and 700. I'm not going to make any promises, but I'm going to try.
Mr. Chairman, can I speak to that?
Yeah, just a minute. The other thing that we haven't done either is, I think it's our intent then, is to send a budget to the budget committee, who will then look at it again and make their decisions or cuts other than what we make.
Correct.
So we've got, my feeling is, I'm at the 2% situation as far as I'm concerned. Have been for some time in my mind. But don't forget, they haven't looked at it yet.
Yep.
We have to submit something to them, from us, to them, and it's actually their budget, not ours, that gets presented. So even though we have to explain it, and we have to deal with it with everybody, it's their budget that's going to come forward. So we have two of you that go to their meetings, so you can make known what we feel. And I think Jim's going to come back to us next week with some numbers.
So I go
You
back,
interrupted me, I was going to go next.
no, I raised my hand and he pointed to
Yeah,
it. Sorry.
Brian's up.
2022, if you remember this, we did a great year with that budget. Do you remember that one?
Which one was
We
that?
cut $230,000 off of that budget. It went to the budget committee and they cut $17.50, I think.
That's right. Yeah.
Well,
there
that's
was
what I'm saying.
Actually,
Okay,
the
so then,
2022
and then
budget-
in 2023, we cut some and they cut some and it went to default. In 2020, or no, 2023. 2024, we cut very little and the budget committee cut a lot more than us that year and it went to default again. I think if we do a good job getting it in good shape for them, that they're not going to have a lot more to whittle away on it.
Yeah.
I just wanted to have everybody be aware, as we know, that we have the final say.
Correct.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
it's just our budget to them, and Jim's going to have to go back to them as well. The same with our representatives. So it's not really over. Linda?
No, I think Paul was next, and I'll go after Paul.
They're all trying to ignore me.
Yeah.
What'd you say, Paul?
You say yes. So I have this little thing that I keep for myself. And one of the 5 charts I use is, what's the difference between the Board of Selectmen's recommendation to the Budget Committee and what was ultimately recommended to the public? Simple enough, right? We send the budget to them, they putz with it, and then it goes to the public. On average, between the years 2019 and 2025, we in the Budget Committee have been within 1% of each other. 1%. The biggest delta was in 2019, 1.5%, 2020, 0.42%, 21, 0.32%, 22, 1.2%. That's the one you were talking about.
Correct.
23, 1.17. So the distance between the two organizations is, if you lay, it's a wiggle chart, it's de minimis. It's not even within a standard deviation. To Jim's question about why the heck, did you say heck or hell? Why the hell?
I used the hockey stick
Did
word.
you? Did you? Okay.
I did.
And I've been thinking about that question, Jim. The way we do things around here, and I'm going to get that this is the way we've always done it, and I'm not being disrespectful. We haven't changed the way in which we do budget planning. We haven't changed the way in which we do capital planning. We haven't changed the calendar year over year. It's the same calendar. I mean, if in my earlier comment, if you like what we've done for the past 4 years, vote for this budget, because we plan, we operate, we report, we manage exactly the same. And I believe, and I'm not here to pick on anybody, I believe the voters have said, I'm not happy with that. I'm not happy with the planning. I'm not happy with the doing. I'm not happy. And you know what? I will be the first person to take a walk through every blessed department we have. And if you can find a problem with those people, you ought to be telling us about it, because they work their asses off. So something's kaflimped. And I appreciate Linda's comment. I really do, about the service thing. And one of the things I worry about in terms of service is highway, roads, and things like that. So to answer your why the hell did you not bark earlier, because tonight was really the last night we went through revisits according to the schedule, which we've done for the past 25 years. Capital planning is the way we've done it for the past 25 years. And I understand there's an RSA that probably tells us what we need to do, but we need to break rules a little bit and think about a different way in which we proffer a budget to the taxpayer. And I agree with you, Dave. You know, we can send it over to the budget committee and do a ole, but it's highly unlikely that they're going to find, like in 2025, they found a $425,000 difference, and I think that was an administrative boo-boo, right? It wasn't like something.
I mean, that's a hard matrix to really understand, because you have to remember they also get to deal with the adjustment to healthcare.
Sure. But what I'm trying to point out here is I believe we got to do the hard stuff. Not that they don't have the hard stuff to do. We got to do the hard stuff. So I will give you my answer next week. And by the way, for those people who are out there saying, and I've read the narrative, you're out of control. Year over year for the past, since 2019, our operating budget, all in, all funds, has grown 4.36% year over year, average 4.36%. Rate of inflation over that period of time, if you believe the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, 2.7%. So we're growing above the rate of inflation. But you know what? We spent some big numbers for POP.
Small number for POP.
Small numbers, but we spent numbers on POP and on the public safety bill.
Now, that's a big one.
That's a big nut, all right? Yeah. So even when you throw all of that stuff in there, 4.36%.
In my search in emails today for historical documents about the capital outlay, and if there was ever a minimum amount, I found an email from 2014, which was about the audit, and it laid out at that time that the electric budget was about $10 million. And here we are a decade later, and it's $11 million.
Barry's like clockwork. 2019?
That enterprise fund takes care of itself very well. We've got to focus on that general fund budget. I will take this and I will try to get between $600,000 and $700,000 taken off. The takeaway on that is we've got to schedule a time to meet next week prior to Wednesday.
I think I have a couple of comments. One is, and thank you, Paul, for our growth, but in 2024, there was $500,000 put on the tax rate for the first payment of the public safety building, and in 2025, there was a second 500,000 put on it. From about 2005 to 2023, we'd only put 16 million on of debt on our general fund, and we put 13.1 in 2 years, half in one and half another, and that was a big hit.
Correct.
You know, so it's hard when you have things like that to talk about burn rate and the percentages, because that's the year they feel that coming through. And I'd like to see your figures in terms that we've been consistent in our growth. It doesn't quite fit with that. But
I just pulled them off the audit there.
I would like to see it. I will check it. So I guess I would like to see us meet on Monday, and I was wondering whether we could meet at maybe 1 o'clock. The reason I say that is that there is, I believe, a ZBA meeting on Monday, and on Tuesday there's planning board. So it looks like we probably would do better to meet during the day.
Can we pencil that in?
I would, and I just learned this, Monday's going to be hard for me, based on my wife having another procedure.
How about Tuesday?
Tuesday I can do.
Tuesday at, what's good for you, Jim?
What, didn't we have a hold for Jim for Monday? Or that's that was the one we penciled in
Yeah,
yesterday?
that's the one, and
We
he's
did
saying
pencil it in, but
he doesn't think it works for him, so
I'll be hard pressed to get back in town in time.
then let's not do it then. Let's go on to Tuesday.
What's a good time for you?
Well,
Look,
how does
anytime,
other people work on, does that work for somebody on Tuesday?
Well, I can do it Tuesday, but in the afternoon, not at 1 o'clock. I mean,
Well, we're bumping up into the planning board, so
well,
we
the
figure
planning
about
board's at
4.
7 o'clock, so how long's our meeting?
I don't know.
So we got 2 hours, so we
Break the
could meet
law
at
jam. Tuesday at 4
you
o'clock.
want to
5 o'clock?
shoot 4, 5 o'clock?
Yeah.
You want to do it 5? Okay.
5?
4?
4:30.
4 gets me home for dinner.
Well, we got to set
4:30.
priorities here.
4. Tuesday at 4?
4:30.
4:30.
Okay, 4:30
4:30.
on the 4th, right?
Yep.
Thank
Last
you.
question. Am I alone? Am I the only one that thinks that we should go to breaking out our enterprise funds in warrant articles? I've said, Jim said it, and
The
I've said
budget
it.
committee was supportive of it last night.
Yeah, the budget committee was.
You know.
Highly supportive of it. I mean,
Well, I don't think we have to make that decision right now. I'd like to think about it. I think there's some pluses and minuses to that, but I would like to spend some more time thinking
Yeah,
about it.
me too. And the only
I'm
thing
not,
I would-
I'm not saying I'm for it or against it.
I'm not in or out. I would just simply say, from my humble perspective, before you vote on something, you really need to understand it. And you know, I would want to make sure we completely educate folks on what is in and what is not in the enterprise funds, because the way we've constructed our enterprise funds, bless you, has some policy issues in terms of where we assign percentages of debt, and maybe there's some other things in there. So we need to understand, Sam, on a full stream basis, completely, if you just pulled them out. And then we need to educate the public as to what that's all about. And then people can look at it, and I'm with you, and I can't figure out whether I want that or not want that, but I do believe we should educate the public on how these things work.
Right, because we can say on, you know, we can say in electric that the rates cover everything, so there's no impact.
No impact.
But we get to the sewer, we've got the operating that pays for itself, but the capital is on the general fund.
Correct.
And then we go to Pop Whalen, as you're saying, there's a percentage, and when you get to the water fund, you're getting 300 and some odd thousand for hydrants. So
Yes.
how do we, and I'm with,
Gotta
I think
straighten out
that's
the
kind of
string.
saying is, how are we going to put that in a warrant article, and then when we come down, no impact to the tax rate? Well,
We said,
no.
the
there would be-
340 or 300, whatever it is for the hydrant is a,
Well, you would say there's an impact on the tax rate for the sewer.
well,
fund.
that's, for only the capital.
The point-
So you have to do the percentage of the thing. So it's just not clear. It's not as clear it is for the electric. The electric's clean,
Clean as a whistle.
It is.
That's
But
what
it would
we're
be-
saying.
It would be clearer than having everything all mashed together in one budget like we have now, because right now, people can't separate out one for the other. They don't know what the water enterprise fund is costing them. They don't know what the sewer enterprise fund is costing them.
Well, it's costing them in their fees.
Yeah, well,
That's where we got, I'm not saying yes, I'm not saying no. That's what I'm trying to process, to figure out, can we word it so it's clear enough in each one of them, or we start getting more confused in trying to explain?
I think then the
And I
citizens would
understand-
know what areas of town, where their money's going. Oh, my goodness, my money is going here because there's where the tax rate impact is. My money's going here, my money's going
there's a
here.
lot for us to think about. At least there is for me. It's not so
So
clear.
we've decided we're going to meet on Tuesday,
4:30,
4:30 here.
Sam's buying dinner.
Jim's
No,
going
Sam is
No
not.
way, no way.
Jim's going to perform a miracle by next week.
Yep.
And
H-E-double-L.
is there any input from the public while we're still talking?
Hey, Karen.
Hi, I'm Karen Burnett-Curie from Wolfeboro.
Mike,
First thing I
please.
have to say,
Mike, please.
thank you. Is it
Nice and
working?
loud.
Is it, is it working?
Yes.
Okay. The first thing I have to say is, if you break out something that's a necessity as a warrant article, if it fails, for example, by the fact that people who don't get their electric or their sewer or their water, which is probably the better example, their water from the water system, so they don't support it because they say, well, I don't care about it, then what are the people who are on the water system and the sewer system going to do? Because the only budget that's going to be left for sewers is maintenance and capital improvements and not actual sewer service or no water service. So I do not see how you can put something as a warrant article that potentially can fail, because if I understand the comments that have been made before, if a warrant article fails, it doesn't exist.
It goes back to the default
Correct.
of the previous year,
It
which
goes,
is,
so,
But that was not my understanding when they talked about the police car, for example. They said the police car could be here or there. If it passes in one place, then you still have it. If it doesn't pass in the other place. I mean, I think
That's because
you're making it all very much more confusing.
no, so the purchase of a police car is buying one piece of apparatus underneath a budget. If you're passing a whole budget, it's not like just buying one police car in a budget.
But
It would be going,
We're screwed if we are on the water and sewer.
no, it just goes to the default budget.
Okay, then I don't see I don't see how you get people to understand what having a warrant article is, because in the case of the warrant article, you didn't buy any cruisers, police cruisers. You did still have the line item that said equipment and whatever the line item they put it under was, and it had a number in it. So one of the things that was said was, if there's a number there and you want to move money around because you have a default budget, then you can put it into there if you can find it from someplace else. So I think what you're doing is you're doing that, what's that game that they have people do, where a shell game?
Whack-a-mole.
And I think that feeds into citizen distrust. I think there's a lot of citizen distrust of government. I'm not blaming it on you. I'm saying in general, there's a flavor of distrust. If you do things that appear to be a shell game, it just adds to the distrust. You may not see it as a shell game. You may be seeing, it leaves my options open so that I can do it even if they tell me not to do it. And that will definitely lead to citizen distrust. So if I say to you, I don't think that we need, and I'm just giving an example, that staff person, and that staff person is X percentage of the budget increase, so I vote down the budget, and you still put that staff person in there, I'm gonna be unhappy with the process. I mean, I think the example that was used about the process has to change is an excellent point. I think you can't keep doing things the same way when people have said they don't like what you've produced as a result of it. So that's an excellent point. I thought it was an excellent point to leave, you know, to say, give them choice of having one in the budget and one, you know, as a warrant article. That again is transparent. If you say you can't increase the budget by more than 2%, and I'm in a department that doesn't have 2 police cruisers in my budget, I'm going to really resent that my 2% in essence becomes larger because that's the strategy being used for 2 police cruisers. So there's so many dynamics going on, but the other part of the dynamic that you're looking at is this is a reappraisal year. So when you talk about people and their tax rates, there's already going to be a big brouhaha over the tax rates being different because of the appraisals being different. And people aren't going to understand the relationship between rate and appraisal and all those things that clearly. So you've already got a messaging problem. You've got a messaging problem because you're coming from a second year of a default budget. You have a messaging problem because it's a reappraisal year. You are going to add to that messaging problem by breaking things out into warrant articles and handling them differently than they have been in the past, because that's a whole communication message you have to create, and all other nuances that you change in the process become part of the confusion or conundrum. So what confuses Linda is different than what confuses Paul, which is different than what confuses Brian, and you're going to have to deal with it all because you have a population of all those different personalities or ways of thinking out there. So I think you don't want to make humongous changes in the way you put out information unless it's clarifying and not going to set you up for a problem down the road. And some of the strategies that I've heard seem to either confuse things more or open you up for different strategies. Now, I'm not in the position of making, you know, specific suggestions, but I will say as an example, on this sheet of paper here, on general fund capital outlay, if you look at these items, they aren't described comparably. So one is public works broom. Okay, now I mean, the word broom may confuse me, but at least it's describing which department and what the object is. In the case of solid waste, just saying solid waste, that doesn't tell me anything. So I think you have to look at the list and in and of itself, think about how you can help people understand. I think saying Clark Complex, when you really want to say it's the wall of the school building that's toppling over, and you can't use all those words, but you have to be comparable in the way you describe these things. I mean, and if it's cameras, it needs to say cameras. But I would also say that if you're going to have a policy that says people who have departments, if it's below 10,000, it's not a capital outlay, then you don't have on your capital outlay budget, you know, $9,000 items. You put those, you tell the departments that they put those in there. And I think that's a very common definition. So I think that would be understood in and of itself by a substantial number of people. I think if you take and you put the community center project, which wasn't in tonight's conversation, but if it ends up being a warrant article, and the Clark complex as a warrant article, and they're both in the hundreds of $1,000s, you're going to have one of them potentially fall out.
The community center is being done all with private donations.
but the budget still has to be approved, right? It's still a public project. So there's
The
no-
operation of the budget, what's in the budget is the operation, the cleaning and stuff like that. The
No, I
capital
understand that.
outlay for the project is
No,
going to
I
be
understand,
donated.
that's in the budget. But if you're doing the renovation of it and they're raising the money, there's no vote that's taken by the town that says they want to do it that way.
It will be a donation given to the town that would be approved by the select board.
There would be a public hearing held by the Board of Selectmen to accept the funds, and we would ask for the funds prior to the project starting.
Yeah.
And so it would allow the public.
Okay, so then why, with the Libby Museum, wasn't the public money that had been raised ever, at least allowed to come through as being renovation of the Libby Museum to the extent that they had already raised X number of hundreds of...
Because the Libby Museum, they stated that they would raise 70% of the renovations of the building. They fell short. The warrant article still went out, and the taxpayers voted that they didn't want to renovate the building because the money wasn't there to continue the project. So the donations went back to all the donors, and that money was all raised by a private group, nonprofit, the Friends of the Libby Museum.
Right, no, I understood that it was raised by the Friends of the Libby Museum. That wasn't my question. The question was, why, if they were raising all the money, was there a warrant article about
They weren't raising all the money.
They weren't. They were raising 70% of it.
Okay,
In order to do the project that they brought forward to us, we needed to raise $4 million total. And they were going to raise 70% of that amount, and they didn't get to their number. Their number had to be 2.7 million, and they got to $2.2 million. Correct? Am I right?
Not quite
anyways,
on that, but close enough.
anyways, I think, okay, I'll just leave that. I think that it would be useful. I think the town citizens, a large enough number of them, have said to you, we want you to minimally maintain the buildings. So I think not having anything in the capital outlay related to the worst part of the Clark complex is a mistake. Because I think one of the messages I've heard is that we want you to prioritize our needs. We aren't looking at all of the facilities, all the buildings, all of the whatever, and we want you to prioritize them, and we want you to tell us what are the pieces of all those buildings and et cetera are the most critical. And if you take this example of a capital outlay budget and you put it down to three things, the wall at the school building, the tennis courts, which are used by so many people, and a broom that I think some people are going to not understand, then you've shown that you've narrowed a list that was, at one time 12 down to, 10 down to 2, down, and I think that that's what they're looking for you to do. And not just to go back and say, oh, well, you can pick from a laundry list of things. They want you to provide your expertise and knowledge to the process more than just saying, oh, well, we'll let them choose.
So by the time something gets to here, it has been looked at by department heads. It's been evaluated for usually years. It's been looked at by town manager, and then it's been evaluated by the select board. So there's a lot of steps that come before it gets to where the public can see it. And there's probably a lot more than what is on this capital outlay. If you use the CIP, we run the CIP out for projects for 10 years.
I'm not making my comments in order to argue.
Okay.
I'm not here to argue.
Oh.
I'm just here to make comments.
Okay.
Okay? Thank you.
Okay, I need a motion to adjourn. Is there
I'd
anything
like
else?
to make a motion for us to go into non-public. Under A, we have
Personnel matter.
some goals to work on, so I make a motion that we go into non-public.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We're in non-public. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.